Kirby. That's a name that you should probably know if you're into gaming, seeing as it's one of the most revered franchises out there. People love Kirby. Wherever Kirby goes, he leaves a trail of amazement and love and endearment. But Kirby 64 is one Kirby game that I frequently see thrown under the bus. People like to disregard this game almost by default because they feel it doesn't live up to the other Kirby titles. And in light of that sentiment, I'd like to stand up for the little guy. So in this review, I'd like to make my case in defense of Kirby 64. So let me start by saying that for all of the respect that people hold for Kirby as a franchise, I actually hold a deep respect and nostalgia for Kirby 64. The N64 was my first home console, and Kirby 64 was one of the few games that I owned back in the day and played the hell out of. I really liked it then, and I like it even more now. So I think the first thing you need to know is that this game came out at the end of the N64 lifecycle, and as such it does take advantage of what the N64 can do. So even if you're looking at graphic production and how the game presents itself, it's a great looking game. Whether you're in the cutscenes or if you're scrolling through a level, you see the layers of 3D. And it has a nice effect on you as the player. Like, most of these Kirby games, they play as like 2D side scrollers, and yeah, they look good and they play well. But this game has an effect where it feels like you're in a larger world and you're kind of like submerged into it. That's complemented nicely by the variety in levels, even just from stage 1 to stage 2. Like, you're scrolling through, okay, a dreamland looking stage, then to like this autumnal stage where you see like a real brown effect on the leaves of trees, even in the platforms that you traverse on. There's a really nice visual effect going on. On top of that, the game just feels charming in a way. Whether it's the soundtrack or even the inclusion of classic characters from the Kirby universe, such as Waddle Dee, my favorite, you really get the sense that you're in Kirby's world. But it wouldn't feel like an authentic Kirby game if you couldn't copy abilities. Well, so say most people anyway. And you can, but the cool thing that goes on here is that you can actually combine abilities. And this is the only game that I've played where that is actually a thing. Otherwise, it's just like restricted to one lone ability and then maybe like some power-up. But I really like this. There's over 30 combinations of abilities to choose from. And whereas some of them might not be as cool as others, it gets really interesting when you start to mess around with the combinations. So like, I don't really like the boomerang, but once you start combining the boomerang with other items, you get all of these awesome abilities. Like, I love the exploding shuriken or the fire lightsaber. There's a lot of cool ones to mess around with, and they change your game every time that you play. So yeah, maybe you've played this level before, but did you play it as a giant boulder that struts through the level? Did you play it on ice skates? There's so many ways to really enjoy the game. And that's where I find that Kirby 64 has its solidified identity and also just asserts itself as a competitor in the Kirby franchise. So I can imagine people saying, oh yeah, the game's too easy, especially since you can combine abilities. But I do find I did die a couple times. And also, yeah, you can cheaply play through the game with the best abilities, but are you going to do that? Are you going to just stampede on through without testing other abilities? I think that there is more to the game than simply playing it cheaply. I disagree with that notion. To me, I like to play this game and challenge myself. So like I might go into a boss battle and not have any ability copied already, simply because I want to experience it in a way that really tests me. And maybe I can't speak for everyone there, but if you just kind of play the game cheaply, yeah, it's going to be too easy. One point that was a little troublesome for me when I was playing through was the completion aspect. In order to complete this game, you need to collect all of the crystals, and oftentimes that means playing through the same levels over again, but trying to find the right ability to do so. And it's not always clear, and that can often lead to you playing through almost an entire level over again just to test it out and be wrong. And while it is a little bit tedious, I like the challenge, and I like really testing myself to see if I can figure it out. It's not too complicated. A lot of times it's color-coded, but the game does challenge you to think about what would make sense in that situation. So this room, for instance, is pitch black. You obviously need to light it up somehow, meaning you need to combine electric with something. What you combine it with, though, requires some experimentation. And that's where the fun of the game comes in really testing every ability and seeing how they work. It can be tedious when you've tried it multiple times, but I actually like the challenge. And what you get when you complete this game is 100% awesome. So I 100% recommend 100%ing Kirby 64. It makes the entire game worth it. Not to say that the game is not worth it without unlocking the final ending. However, it's just icing on the cake that I know Kirby would love. So just a final note, just because Kirby knows how to suck doesn't mean that this game does. On the contrary, it's actually quite awesome and contains a lot of great ideas that I wish HAL Laboratory would exploit, such as the double ability combination or 2.5D platforming levels. It's a great game. I actually really like it, and I know that it's not for everyone, especially people who like to bash on the N64, but if you're looking for a new cool Kirby game, I say that this one is worth a shot. It couldn't hurt to play anyway. With that, get some pink in your lives, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, ladies and gentlemen. You know, that actually wasn't that bad. I think I'll take another bite.